Okay, hello everybody from everywhere around the world. We are on day 3 of the Bewitches International Online Belly Dance Festival. Thank you for joining in from wherever you are. I guess some of you have to step aside from your work or, I don't know, wake up earlier in the morning or whatever it is. So thank you so much for joining us live. And for those who didn't or can't, we have the video up for 48 hours. We initially thought of 24, but we extended it given the fact that some people are busy or tied up and the current global news doesn't look very good. So people have been distracted. So we've decided to go ahead and keep it on for 48 hours. So Sidana's video is, by the way, still up, so which is past 48 hours, but we just left that on because in case somebody is still catching up, we just wanted to make sure that you all have an opportunity to go through that. Right, so just to let you all know, we have exciting contests and challenges starting tomorrow. We have Shahzad's class and we have a shimmy challenge, and we also have other amazing contests coming up, and we have great giveaways from our collaborators. So on that note, I'd like to thank our collaborators. We have so many of them. I have to read them out, starting with the Belly Dance Business Academy, who's been very generous. We've got Belly Dance Academy, we've got Rocks Online, Datura Online, bellydancer.com, bellydance.com, Zara Zook, Zamina, Khalid Mahmood CD. We have Ansuya, who's giving us access to her class, Julia as well, Julia Farid. Sarah Shrapnel and Dawn Devine, who are donating their books. We have Turnasel from Lacey. We'll come to that in a second. We have Samai Oriental Dance. We have Pavan Graphology. So we've got lots of amazing gifts from them. They've been very, very generous. So, right. So let me know how you all are going through. How's the festival feeling for you all? What are your takeaways? Have you been sharing this with your friends? I'd like to know how you're enjoying this, and give us a heart or give us some, how you're appreciating it, whether you like it, whether you want more of this, are you looking forward? So well. And also, we'd really appreciate, and we'd love you to start even a watch party on your end. What do you mean by watch party? Is basically everybody who's tuning into a live session has the ability to start their own watch party where they can share our video with their set of friends. So those of you who do start a watch party also have something coming up your way, a beautiful surprise. So how do you start a watch party? You just have where you have your live video showing right now, you have at the bottom of it, you have share or start. If you hit that, you will get the option to start a watch party. So if you've never tried that before, go ahead and try it. I think it's a lot of fun. I have done that as well for previous sessions that I have attended from other teachers. And it also broadcasts it to your friends so they benefit as well. And yes, and we are going to be looking out for people who start a watch party. And anyway, send a screenshot when you do so that we make sure that our giveaways reach you, right? Okay, so let me introduce today's teacher, Lacey Sanchez, who's going to do Tribal Sword. Lacey has been dancing since the age of 15. She's cross-trained in several forms in ballet, jazz, and then she had an injury and she couldn't continue her classical dance journey. And her doctor advised her that she could only continue with belly dance because it was barefoot. And here we are. We have meet the director of Florida Tribal Dance. So Lacey's been dancing for several years, and she's been very actively hosting workshops all over the US, sold out workshops. And she's also a certified Datura style instructor and a Fat Chance belly dance style instructor. And she's also completed 8 elements. So Lacey has been doing lots of workshops, a lot of community work in the area of dance. She's been also has a lot of solo shows and troupe performances, which has been something that she's been very actively hosting, performing in, and serving her dance community since 14 years, right? And I must say that Lacey has been very, very generous to also offer her brand to Nacelle, which is basically old artifacts converted into modern adornments. So you can probably see that on the screen right now. So she's been very generous to offer these as gifts for the winners of prizes of our contest. And there is the link to her shop on Etsy is going to be showing up below her live session when she starts her class. So you can totally go visit the store. The link to her store is also going to be on our website and on our group, so you can go check it out even at a later point. So right, I hope I've covered everything. So over to you, Lacey. I'm so glad to have you here.
Good morning, everyone. So I am coming from Florida, just outside of Orlando. And yes, I am Lacey Sanchez, and I am so excited to be a part of this truly unique festival. So thank you so much for having me. I did want to start to remind everybody really why we're here, which is, of course, to enjoy dance, but also to hopefully raise donations for the migrant workers in India. They are in need, and their Indian dance and Indian culture is so ingrained in our style of dance. So I think that it is the least that we can do to give back and to help. And especially in these times, I think we need to look out and see how we can help others. So I'm very excited. My understanding is that the link should be in the comments, and there should be some graphics and some fabulous computer action that's going to happen. I need to get rid of that for a second. Okay. So yes, so I'm excited. It's early. I haven't had all of my coffee. So those of you that know me know that that's dangerous. But we are here today to talk about dancing with the sword. So my perspective, I recognize that there are a lot of very important changes happening in our style. I identify as a tribal style dancer until I find the right words and the better terms to work with. So I'll use that for now as a placeholder, and then we'll go from there. However, I want you to know that any style of belly dance that you partake in or you really enjoy will apply to what we're going to learn today. So don't worry if that's not your base style, totally fine. If you're a group dancer, you're a soloist, you're just looking for some combos, you've never danced with sword before, we're gonna have a good time. So I'd like to start though first with warm up. So it's early, I need a stretch, you need a stretch. So let's start with that. I did want to let you know that I'm looking at you right now from my camera feed, but I will be checking in over here to the side. That's where my music is and stuff. So I promise if I'm looking over here for comments, I'm not ignoring you. All right, so let's start with a stretch. And oh my goodness, technology makes me so nervous, but we all are learning together, right? So, I also, oops, before I start that, I also wanted to let everyone know that I love questions. And while I'm teaching in my little box of a room, they're really helpful. So I encourage you to ask questions, put them in the comments. If you have requests, if I'm talking too fast and you can't understand me, whatever you need, drop it on in to the comments at any point in class, and we'll definitely get to them. All right. So now we will stretch. Okay, everybody, let's take a breath. Let's take a breath together. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, release. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, release. Inhale, up. And exhale, just relax the hands. Let's release the chin to the chest. Let the head roll in front to the right shoulder and gently in front to the left shoulder. Front right and front left. And then gentle head circles all the way around in one direction. Easy on the back, stopping in front, switch directions. Last one. Stopping in front, gently lift, roll the shoulders up, back, and down. 2, 3, leave it back on floor. Forward and in. Open that upper back. 1, oh God. 2, 3, and 4. Up to the ears. Lift. Exhale, release. One more time. Inhale up. Exhale, release. So let's widen our stance. Turn the toes out. Soften the knees. Draw that tailbone down. Inhale, lifting up. And exhale down. Feels good to stretch. Wakey, wakey. Well, I guess it depends on where you are, right? So for some of you, it's evening and it's been a long day. I'm just starting my day. My dogs don't know what to do. They're like, why didn't we get our walk? Where's the breakfast? Okay, hold center. Let's slide left. Stretch up, 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 and away from the waist. Hips are square. Both knees are bent. We're squeezing through that oblique and then contract and bring on back. We're going to rotate to the leg and just get nice and long over the leg. Hands can come to the thigh, shin, or floor. And then we'll rotate to the side for a lunge. So toes, knees, and hips all face the side. We're going to lift up that back heel, draw the tailbone down, rib cage over hips. Arms are welcome to go overhead if you'd like, or they can stay down at the hip, or you can clasp the hands behind the back, and slide those shoulders down. Really keep nice neutral pelvis though. Nice big breath here. And then exhale, release, and you'll walk in center, toes forward and hang over the legs. Relax the crown of the head down. If it's more comfortable, you're welcome to place the hands on the thighs. Just focus on relaxing the neck. And then we'll roll up, and let's do the other side. Center, inhale up. Hold and slide. Contract the left oblique, open the right ribs, shoulders down, hips square. Contract and come up, rotate to the side. We're going to get nice and long over that leg. Hands can be on the thigh, shin, or floor, your choice. Dealer's choice, everybody. And then find your way to lunge hips. We'll rotate to the side. Toes, knees, hips, all face the side. Draw that tailbone down. Rib cage over hips. Once again, arms are welcome to go overhead. Stay down at the hips or clasp behind the back. Then exhale, release all the way down once again. This time we're going to point the toes forward, soften the knees, walk the hands forward, spread the fingers wide, and then exhale the chest back towards the floor. If this is uncomfortable, find a countertop or a table. I've got a shelving unit here, and then about shoulder height, and just stretch the hips back. So wherever you're at, we just want to focus on opening that upper back. And then release and come up. Let's once again widen that stance. Come center. I'll turn to the side. We're going to rotate shoulder forward. And shoulder forward. Shoulder forward. And forward. I can do this for an hour. This was our class. No, just kidding. That's not why you guys showed up. Center, roll up. And I'm full of silly, corny jokes, so you just let me know if those become annoying. Inhale up. All right, here we go. Exhale, we're going to soften the left knee, drop the left hip, reach the left fingers, and switch, and switch, and switch, and switch. One more time on the right. Inhale up, palms press, and exhale down. All right, hopefully you feel a little bit more in your body. Let me check in here. There we go, perfect. Okay, everybody, go ahead and get a drink of water if you need to, and let's start talking about swords, yeah? So I had said in preparation of this workshop that you didn't necessarily need to have a sword on hand. So if you're stuck at home and you don't have one, or maybe you haven't invested in one yet, that's totally fine. You can find yourself a cane, you can do an umbrella, you can grab a broom, and primarily for the majority of this workshop, that will work because we will be handling the sword. Once we get to the balancing portion, obviously those props might not work out so great for you, but that's okay. You can still use the combos and then work up to balancing once you find the sword of your choice. So with that in mind, this is my particular sword that I work with, and I think I'll add a link in the comments to where I purchased this sword. It's an American company, but you can definitely find all types of swords just about anywhere. I find that in that chant style and fusion styles, we tend to like the scimitar shape. There are a lots of different types of shapes. I think before I got this sword, I worked with what we know as a saber, which is a skinnier type shape. I find that I really like different types of swords. Even if I'm in a group choreography, there's something about it that feels like a battle army that I really love. So I don't necessarily think that it's important that you get the sword that I'm working with necessarily. But what's important is that you connect with it. So I find this in any prop, but because we're dealing with, and I say this affectionately, a weapon, I think it's super important that you feel confident with it, that you feel that it's an extension of you, that you respect and honor it, because it can hurt you and others if you're not careful. So we want to make sure that you feel good about it. So that's a little bit about choosing a sword, but also you want to look around your environment right now. So we're all kind of in different places. I want to make sure that you've got kind of space around you. I don't want you whacking anything or breaking any important articles or antiques. So make sure that you've got some space around you. Yeah. So we're going to start. I can feel myself being very nervous. Hi, everybody. So we're going to start with different ways to manipulate and work with the sword. The biggest thing is that we're going to start with holding steps. So the thing to keep in mind is that the top edge of the sword, even if you're working with a sword that's stamped and has a rolled edge, we want to treat that as if it was sharp. So my preference, and that's all this is in this workshop, are my preferences. So if you want to do something else, you're your own artist and do what you like. However, while I'm teaching, I'm going to treat this whole top edge as if it was sharp. So I will never touch the top. In addition, I also like to treat the curve of the scimitar as if it were sharp. So the only placement that I will work with in terms of where I can hold on the underneath is up to this notch, which most scimitars have. So past that and the top, I will not touch. So all of my technique will be around that concept, right? So, and also we want to limit how much we're touching the blade because it will leave finger marks and things like that. There's a beautiful dancer by the name of Belladonna that has a lovely program. So if you find yourself really loving sword, I can shoot you towards her, and she has a whole sword program that you can investigate. And she goes into great detail on how to really respect your prop. So in addition to the handle, you may find that yours has a guard or an additional piece. That's okay. Everybody's just a little bit different. But I want you to resist the urge of clutching and hanging on for dear life. You want to keep the hand relaxed. I tend to work with what I think of as an OK symbol. So that first finger and thumb, that's really what's manipulating the handle here. And then the rest of the fingers are relaxed on the hilt. So on your crossbar, you may find that you're more comfortable being really close to it. We're also going to utilize that piece here later. In addition, we press or hold through kind of the envelope of the hand. So I'll bring the thumb around, and maybe I'm able to keep the fingers lifted. I tend to tuck my fingers and then manipulate the sword through what I call knuckling. So I'll press the knuckles against, and that gives me a lot of control with the blade. But again, I'll manipulate that a lot. So all of this is to say that you want to start being comfortable moving through and articulating the body around the sword versus it being a static object that is never allowed to move, right? So we want it to breathe. I'm going to set that down really quick. Oh, I think we're good. All right, so let's assess nice, strong dance posture. Yeah, so we're going to start with the feet just under the hips. We then want to straighten the legs. It'll be the only time I tell you to do that, but straighten the legs, and we're going to find neutral pelvis by engaging through the core. So I know Deanna Freeman, who is my good friend, taught a workshop yesterday, and you guys really went over nice, strong dance posture. So I'm going to not spend quite so much time so we can get to our sword. But nice neutral pelvis. You're going to slide the hips behind the heels as you soften the knees, with energy coming skyward in the knees. So I don't want you to think of bending and tilting the pelvis forward. So nice neutral pelvis. Rib cage wants to close in the front and feel open in the back. Then we lift the ribs up, 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 and away from the waist. Shoulders draw down. Space between the chin and the chest. press up through the crown of the head and down through the heels. So that's going to be the posture that we work with. I'm also going to take a little bit of liberty and not break down all of the technique that we're doing in the body. So I'm taking some assumptions that we all have some basic knowledge. However, if I'm doing any movement that I feel is a little bit more advanced, I'm totally going to break it down. B, if you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about, then please put it in the comments and I'm happy to break down technique more, but I'm focusing more on what we're doing with the sword with that technique, and I want to give you more of that. So I'll kind of move quickly through the technique and focus on the sword unless you guys tell me otherwise. Okay, sound good? Here we go. Grab your blade. So we're going to start with a classic movement, which we call a body wave. So it's going to start with the rib cage, and we're just going to hold the sword horizontal for a moment. Rib cage lift, rib cage rotate, and then we articulate the spine down. Lift, and actually maybe I was a little preemptive in getting my sword. We can go over this real quick. So dance posture. I'm going to be at my performance angle, which has my toes, knees, and hips to the corner, upper body gently open to the front. I'm going to focus on lift the rib cage, rotate the rib cage, and then roll the spine down my invisible wall. So lift, rotate, roll down. And the fun part about this super basic step, that is a basic slow step in Fat Chance belly dance style, also in Datura style and just about any belly dance style. So what's nice about this is we get 3 options with our blade in my format. So go ahead and pick up that blade again. And as we talked about, I'm going to start with what I consider vertical. So vertical brings the sword right about the sternum. I am either going to rotate my fingers upward or rotate the fingers to the side. The importance of this choice is in either position of the hand, the elbow must be lifted. So depending on your anatomy, one or the other will be more comfortable, but we want it to be strong. I also have some energy underneath the arm, so I'm not clamping the arm down. I'm actually looking for lift. So this is our vertical. This is a great entrance movement. Lift and release down. Lift and roll down. You can turn. Typically we turn over the left shoulder, but you absolutely can turn over the right. We can also take the sword horizontal and overhead. Here is where you're going to see either knuckling in the hand, as we talked about. Maybe you extend the fingers up, or sometimes I place the thumb right at the edge and get a little bit more extension in my arms. Again, soft grip in the hilt, lift and roll down. Now in this position, you will be tempted to relax your elbows, but keep it strong. Lift and roll down, lift and roll down, lift and roll down. So this isn't as exciting with the sword. So we typically use this position as a transition in between steps. The next movement has us rotate the edge of the blade down. We slice down the body, then flip the edge up, keep the elbows lifted, bring it away from the body, elbows up, and go overhead. So it flips, goes down, flip, come up, flip, rotate down, and that will be during your body wave. So the body wave will happen as the sword goes down, and then you will just neutral as it goes back up. Here we go. Lift, roll down, and come back up. Lift, roll down, and come back up. And one more. Back to vertical. Transition and lift. Roll down, maybe turn. Keep that nice strong dance posture, elbows lifted, overhead, looking for your next movement. So one movement, lots of things to do with your sword. So I wanted to take this second to kind of give you a little bit of my philosophy of props in general when belly dancing. I am a huge advocate of dancing with your prop rather than using the prop just for balance. So if you were hoping that this whole workshop would be balancing, unfortunately that might not be what happens, but I'm hoping you're going to be really excited about the shapes we create. I find that dancing with a prop really gives you an opportunity to create shapes in space that you normally wouldn't see. So it really brings to life movements in a new way. So I find that if you work with a limited vocabulary, but really highlight it with the prop, in this case sword, it completely transforms the movement. So it's not necessarily about only balancing. I really encourage you to look at how you can utilize your space and how you can really make new shapes. So again, with body wave, we have 3 options. Our next step is taksim. So taksim for me equals down to up figure 8. So it is vertical as if it were on the wall. So nice, strong dance posture. Again, we will start primarily on the right. We will draw down and contract up, release down. And once again, if there are any questions about these basic techniques, Lena, you can totally interrupt me and let me know if anyone has any questions about the basic technique. Otherwise, I'll just keep going. So our basic taksim is down to up. We'll hold our sword horizontal and overhead. We are then going to mimic the down and up action in the blade. So as my right hip drops, I will softly and gently drop the handle of the sword and press up, drop the point and press up. The energy in the arms has the elbows drawing back. Arms are in a soft curve, down, up. Now, take care that you're not moving too fast so we can quickly make everyone feel seasick. So we don't want to do that. So we want to keep it nice and slow and gentle. Similar with our body wave, we can turn this taksim. And again, there's no particular placement of the turn. We just gently take ourselves around. Transition body wave. Maybe we just do vertical, back overhead, and draw down to up, down to up, down to up, and down to up. Nice. So we've got body wave. 3 placements for body wave. Taksim just has 1. Now we're going to move to a flat facing movement, facing flat to the front. Everything's fine, everybody. So we're going to work with hip crescents. So we're going to work with a horizontal step. So we're thinking of side to side slide, feeling the weight shift in the feet, feeling the obliques engage as you slide. And we can either take the pelvis forward, engaging in the upper abdominal, or we can take the pelvis sliding back, keeping the low back long. So front crescents have you sliding left, front, right, right, front, left. That equals 1. Or we can do crescents to the back, slide back, right, back, left, and again, that equals 1. So grabbing our blade again, front crescents are pretty simple. We can slide. Again, we're going to mimic the hip action. So I'm going to keep the shoulders down. I'm going to keep the roundness in the elbows. That really indicates style, is the roundness and the strength in the arms. We're going to press forward and to the right, forward and to the left. So again, from the side, forward, right, forward, left, forward, right. So those are our front crescents. For back crescents, they're a little more intricate in the sword work. We're going to draw the blade to be about shoulder height. That's our, if you're working with improvisation, that's the cue. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about cues in this particular workshop. I just want to give you combinations. But if I have a lot of improvisational dancers here, meaning group improvisation, I'm happy to talk more about cues and interaction. So I'll take my cue from you guys in terms of what you're looking for. So we've got horizontal. Then we are going to flip the blade similar to the body wave so that the edge is down. Press down as the pelvis moves back. And then as the pelvis comes to the side, we flip it up and go to the side. Down and left, down and right, down. Keep an eye on those elbows. Keep them lifted. If anybody is here that knows me well, I am a stickler about elbows. Please keep them strong. Good. And then if you were to switch, you could press the blade overhead and right and left. Crescents can be done independently, however, so you don't need to do both. You can choose to do one or the other. And right. Now, here's a little note about crescents to the back. Something weird tends to happen. So I'm going to turn to the side so you can see. So this is a note about how the blade reads to the audience. So regardless of where we're dancing, whether it's in a restaurant, which be careful, that's a whole nother topic. If we're outside, if we're in on a stage, the blade picks up light. And that's what we want. We want it to be visible. So keeping the blade front in this case is super important. So when I'm executing back crescents, I want to be careful that it's always staying flush to my front plane. However, something about back crescents has a tendency to make dancers like get all kinds of funky with their movement, or it stays back. So really be aware of the pelvis moving evenly and the sword staying flat to the front. Yeah? So here's what I'd love to do. So those movements, those very basic movements of body wave, talk seam, front crescent, and back crescent, I'm going to put a little music on and let's drill just to start to get the feel of dancing with our prop. And then after our drill, if there were any questions, I'll shoot on over. Does that sound good, everybody? Hopefully that's a good plan. Here we go. Okay, it's going to take me a second. I had a little music malfunction right before we started, so I got had to make some changes. Okay, this should work. Oh, we don't need 5 minutes though. Where did the song go? There we go. Perfect. Nice strong dance posture, everybody. Okay. So strong posture, hitting the sword, vertical. Here we go. 5. Keep an eye on the elbow. How did it go? How did it go? Hopefully well. Feel free to get a drink of water if you need it.
Lacey, types you're not very audible when the music is on.
Oh, okay.
There are no questions so far, though.
No questions so far?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll work on having the mic, and it could be that I'm being a little soft, so I'll work on that. So, can we hear me though when the music isn't on? Are we good on that?
Yeah, you can hear the music. You could even turn up the music a little bit, but when you're speaking and the music is on, we can't hear you.
Okay. All right. I'll have to work on that a bit. Okay. All this technology.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've basically gone through our kind of entry level holding steps. So what I'd like to do is up the ante a little bit and go into a turn. So in Fat Chance belly dance style, in slow vocabulary, which is basically what we're working with today with our swords, one of the things that's really lovely are these moments for simplicity and creating shape, which is what we just did. But then we add kind of punch with turns or combinations. So the first turn that we're going to go over, and we'll actually have 2 variations of it, is the barrel turn. So I just want to break down the technique just in case we're not as familiar with it. So dance posture. Again, I'm at performance angle, so my toes, knees, and my hips are kind of facing my front left corner of my own personal dance box. Upper body is gently open to the front. So I'm going to leave the arms out of it for right now and just talk about what the body is going to do through space. So we're going to focus first on crossing the right foot over, and I'm going to place the foot on the ball. Now take care that I'm not crossing so far over that I have a change in my hip placement. So I just want to cross and prepare. Then I'm going to pivot and turn to the back. Feel free to watch first, and I'll do it a few times. And then basically my feet are together and I'm facing the back wall. I'm going to turn my left toes out, bend and keep dance posture, then switch my weight into the left foot, come all the way back around to my performance angle. We'll do that a couple times. So you're going to cross, rotate to the back, turn your left toes out, shift the weight to the left foot, and come around. Let's do it 2 more times. Cross, face the back, turn the left toes out, and come around. Last one, and cross to the back, toes turn out, and come around. So I have a feeling you did pretty awesome with that. Let's get into what happens in the upper body and with your sword. So go ahead and grab it if you put it down. It's going to start overhead. So the first idea is cross, cross. Cross, cross. That's what we want to think about. So as I cross my foot, or rather my leg, I am going to cross my arms. So we started really relaxed and casual in our placement so that we could ramp it up. So here's where things are going to get a little bit more complicated. So as I cross my arms, my right arm is going to extend upward. Notice how relaxed and open the hand is. Here is where we're definitely using the idea of the okay, and I am going to allow the sword to pivot and rotate. So I'm going to lift up, then I'm going to use a pinch in the opposite left hand to hang on to the sword as I rotate. Now, everyone has slightly different anatomy. My arms happen to be very long. So if your sword is down a little bit more or up a little bit more, that's fine, but be mindful of your upper body posture. Also, depending on the dancer, we might have broader shoulders or a different frame in the chest. So you might need to be a little closer, and that's also fine. But we want to get as much lift and as much mimic of shape of this right arm as we can. That's where we'll start. So sword overhead, cross, cross. Then we're going to draw the blade down as we pivot, side, and when you get to the back, the blade is overhead. I'm going to turn those left toes out. I'm going to draw the point of the blade down, bring it all the way down again to the side, and then press and open the door. And that's how we'll finish. So it's cross, cross, down, side, up, side, down, side, around. Again, cross, cross, down, side, up, side, down, and around. So there's a little extra juice and sauce happening in the torso with this movement. So if this is completely new to you, you can leave it out and just focus on the footwork and the sword. If you're a little bit more advanced, we definitely want to see it. So when I'm crossing, I feel my left oblique squeeze and contract, and the right oblique opens. So cross lift. Then as the chest goes down, I'm going to follow my eyes with the blade, side, and as I go to the back, I feel my heart lift and my shoulder blades draw down to lift up the chest. Then I'm going to once again contract the left oblique as I go down and lift back up to center. Again, cross, cross, and up, side, down, and around. And then sometimes here's a great place for that horizontal body wave that we talked about before. It's a great placement for that. So there is our body wave, barrel turn. So here's barrel turn 1. All right, and around. Nice. Okay, next concept of holding steps. So I think we're doing pretty good. We're doing awesome on time. Let me know if we want a little bit more drill time as well. I'm going to go over some other steps, and then we're going to do a longer drill. So let's talk about my favorite with sword, which is forearm holds. So from overhead, we cross and we bring the handle forward, pivot, and bring the sword all the way down to rest on the forearm. So here is basically the placement of the hand. I'm using that okay symbol again. The rest of my fingers are relaxed. And then part of the crossbar is behind the hand and part of it is in front. So I am not holding so that all of it is in front. So I'm kind of creating a nice little cage for it to sit on. Placement of where the blade ends up depends again on your anatomy. So if it's slightly different, that's fine. So again, it's forward. I twist the handle forward, guide it down with the opposite hand. I'll release down, then draw the arms up overhead. So let's try that again. Swords overhead, twist, place it on the forearm, continue the momentum overhead, shoulders down. Good. So then we can just have nice, beautiful arm sweeps. So this is a great way to travel if you're moving through space or you're just holding through some music. You'll find that I continue what we call floreos in the opposite hand. So just drawing the hand gently in. You can choose to do those or not, but they're a really beautiful embellishment to add in. So once again, blade is overhead, twist, release down, overhead, and a little arm sweep to make sure I've got a hold of it. Okay, so let's talk about additional turns. So in Fat Chance Belly Dance style, we have two kind of level 1 turns that both have the same movement in the body, but they have slightly different arm positions. We're talking about propeller turn and corkscrew turn. So we can keep a hold of our blade really quick. We're going to do a similar crossover turn. So I'm in nice strong dance posture. I'm going to cross my right foot over. I'm going to use my core to implement the rotation, turn the left toes out, and step around. So very similar to barrel turn in terms of the footwork. Cross, my feet come through center, I turn out and pivot and come to the front. Both turns will execute that way. If we want more details on the turn, you just let me know. So we're going to take the blade overhead. And what happens in both turns is we draw the right arm down first. Notice that I have a little embellishment of floreo and lift. We'll draw the left arm down. Then if I'm doing a corkscrew turn, I will plunge both arms strongly to center. Lift the arms, and before I turn, I will plunge both arms down. If I'm able to cross the hands, great. Depending on your personal frame will dictate whether or not you'll be able to do that. Rotate, and at the end of the turn, whoom, I will open those arms up nice and strong. Keep an eye on your posture. So again, draw the right arm down, draw the left arm down, plunge both arms, lift, plunge, rotate, lift. Again, 1 and 2, and cue the step, plunge, and lift. If I want to get out of this, I would use the momentum, draw my sword down, bring in, actually, let's do it this way. Bring my left arm in. My thumb is going to grab this space as I go down, and I'm going to shoot my sword forward. I use a little bit of locomotion action in my elbow. So again, it was on the forearm. I draw the arm down, get my thumb in there, draw the elbow back, and then press the sword forward. Yeah. So let's try that again. Get it to the forearm. Let's try our propeller turn this time. So I draw the right arm down. I draw the left arm down. Right arm will draw down again for propeller. There'll be a little lift to prepare. There's a little lift in the wrist, lift in the foot. Then I will take the blade to my hip, rotate, keep those arms still. And a little change this time as I come around to the front, I'm going to slide my right foot forward, arms extend in front of the chest. Then I leave my left arm and I lift the right. Propeller is gorgeous. If you are first getting your exposure to this turn now, you're gonna love it. It's the perfect picture moment step. It's really lovely. I think it really showcases the blade nicely as well. So again, we're getting it to the forearm, lifting up, dropping the right arm, dropping the left arm, dropping the right arm again, little lift in the foot, little lift in the blade, press it to the hip, keep the arms still as you rotate, keep the elbow drawn back. Now I'm going to switch my weight into the left foot. As my right foot comes around, the right arm comes to meet the left at center. Then I lift the right arm and extend the left. Here is a great place to get out of it. So I'm going to draw down, scoop, and press, and I'm out. So we've been going over a little bit more complicated steps, so I don't know if there are any questions. So do let me know if anybody has asked anything. Just chime right on in. I think we're good so far. Yeah, it looks like it. Perfect. Okay, so once again, forearm hold, twist, draw down, overhead, maybe an arm sweep and an arm sweep. Then we could cue And notice how you don't know which turn that we're doing until that third step. So if both arms plunge, we're executing corkscrew, plunge the arms down, rotate and lift. And then if we went again, you still don't know if we're doing another corkscrew until now. Just propeller. Place, rotate, stop, and exit. And then come out. So I wanted to give a little note about my approach to fat chance belly dance style. So a lovely phrase called dialect is prevalent in this particular style. And dialect indicates movements or approaches that are slightly different than fat chance style, but that still kind of get put through the filter or the mold of that style. So I definitely would call my sword technique and I would place it under dialect. So again, I'm heavily influenced by those basic steps and more advanced steps in fat chance style, also known as American tribal style. But I take some liberties and I add other combinations and other techniques in, and I encourage you to do the same. So like I said, even though this is definitely heavily influenced by that style, you are welcome to kind of take it, manipulate it, and use it in other ways. So we've got a nice little healthy piece of vocabulary now. We have our basic steps of talk seam, body wave, front and back crescents. We have a little fancier step of barrel turn, and we added in some forearm holds with arm sweep and propeller and corkscrew turn. So now let's really get a nice drill going. Since we know that my mic isn't doing awesome during the music, you're just going to follow along. So this will be a great dance practice, and you can let me know if you're catching those transitions or if they're messing you up afterwards. All right, so let's give it a try. It'll take me just a second. All right, let's go with this guy first. Okay, all right, grab that sword. Okay, everybody, how did it go? How did it go? How did it go? So are we feeling confident? Are we feeling like we're getting it? Is it weird and we don't like it? So just let me know how you're doing in the comments. But what I wanted to get to now, as I'm waiting to see if you guys had any feedback, is okay, we have to talk about balancing, right? So the audience definitely is waiting for it. So what we've done is built a little bit of anticipation, which is what I find so crucial in creating that performance aspect, right? So if we want to really kind of celebrate all of our hard work and get the audience to understand what we're doing is super, super hard. If we wait to do it, then that level of anticipation is nice and high. The best part to me is when the audience even forgets that you're going to do it and then they're just aghast that you balanced, and that's awesome. So I have two ways that we're going to go over balancing today. The first being what I consider a basic balance, and then the second is kind of like all the bells and whistles. And I find that it's a super exciting way to balance. So the way in a simple balance, we actually have two options that you can utilize. We can try both, and then we'll probably primarily use one. But I always balance in a turn. So what I really would encourage you as a dancer to try is to not, so if you are my audience, ideally I'm not going to try to balance while facing you, because especially if I'm new to balancing, it's probably going to all read on my face. And then if I make a mistake or it takes longer and things like that. So the benefit to turns is that, let's say if I was in Taksim, I can take my time in the turn. I'm continuing to dance. The audience is like, oh, we know what they're doing. We know what they're doing. Oh my goodness. And they did it. So you're able to take your time, once again, building suspense, building anticipation, but you can also maintain performance space, right? So notes on balancing logistics. So if you're brand new to balancing, you want to find the point on your particular blade, and it will be different for everyone, where the balance point on the sword is. So you can find that with your hand. You'll notice that with a scimitar, it tends to be closer to the handle. So you'll want to kind of check in on that, and you'll want to get used to where it is. In addition, you need to find the balance point on your head. And everyone's cranium, as it were, is slightly different. So mine tends to be back a little bit further. Yours might be forward, the shape of your head. You'll also notice that I'm not wearing a headband or anything like that. That does not make me a better dancer. It shouldn't be the goal. I am a strong believer in using whatever you need to A, be comfortable. So I used to have very, very long hair. My hair is very thick, so I have a super tough head. Others have a very sensitive scalp and things like that. So recommendations are a basic cotton scarf or headband. You could also use, and a group that we're going to talk about in a minute recommends a leather headband. There are also different groups, or rather different vendors. There's an actual sword headband out there that's padded and even has a groove. I say use whatever you need to A, feel safe and confident in your balance. So just because you don't see me using one isn't because I'm a better dancer or that should be the goal. It's just what works for me, so I can actually feel my sword. I find that when I have a headband, I can't quite figure out where stuff is. So in terms of the blade, some people recommend putting beeswax on the sword, or I've seen dancers even notch the areas where the balance is. There's lots of feelings out there about whether or not that is right. You as a dancer get to choose what you want to do that works best for you. So the biggest thing is knowing where your balance is and then being able to find it on the head. Everything after that is really your choice. All right. So I think we're doing well. So let's just try to get into a Taksim. So we're drawing down to up, down to up, down to up, down to up. So I'm going to keep my hips going. I'm going to employ a turn, but I'm going to stop the movement of my blade and immediately bring it down. So I'm going to try to find my balance, and then somewhere along the back, ideally I am balanced. So then I'll hover my hands underneath the blade as I continue to turn, just in case. Also, this is my standard rule if I'm dancing with others. So take the arms overhead for a second. Hopefully you made it, and let's talk about the idea of dancing with others for balance. So whether it's choreography and you've been given set counts to balance, or it is improvisation. The rule applies if you're dancing with me or if you're taking my concept, right? Is that we want everyone to move together. And if one person balances quicker than the other and shows it, sometimes it reads to the audience like, oh, that dancer is better. And of course, we don't want to do that. We want to be there for our fellow dancers. We want to read as a strong unit together. So the way that I do that is with this concept of hovering the hands. So we're going to do it to the front just so you guys can see what I'm talking about, and then we'll try it together. So as I indicated with Taksim, we get it going, and we're just going to pretend that we're turning right now. So once I employ the turn, I immediately stop my sword from moving, and I immediately get it to my head. Then I'm able to work on the balance. Once I think I'm balanced, I hover the hands underneath. This way, A, I'm with everybody. B, if I need to make any adjustments, my arms aren't far away. Then once we get to the front, and if you're an improvisational group, the leader will indicate it. If it's in choreography, it'll be indicated by a count, but then the arms go up overhead. So if I'm executing a Taksim, I am then going to gently cascade the hands side to side with the corresponding hip. So that's my basic Taksim. After we balance with the Taksim, I will then take a turn to make sure that everybody is okay. Now, if I was doing choreography, I would also put that in the choreography. So we take the turn to make sure that no one died, that everybody is with me, right? So we did the Taksim, we balanced with the Taksim, we turned with the Taksim, everybody is golden, moving on. We can do the same concept with body wave. So I would be in a body wave with horizontal overhead. So lift, roll down. I would employ the turn, and I think you guys get the idea now, so we'll go ahead and just go for it. So immediately when I turn, I bring the sword to my head. I continue to body wave, which is the challenge. Keep the head balanced and level. Hover the hands. Once I get to the front, my arms go up overhead, and then I will drop into split arms. So my right arm draws back, shoulder is down. Left arm can be, I like to have it about eye height, which is a little old school. You may have it at tabletop, whatever works best for you. We do love an embellishment of a floreo. You may find that body wave balancing is harder because you may find that you're dipping through the head. So we want to keep the head level and the spine articulating underneath. We're going to talk about that a little bit more, but let's try a turn. So lift and roll down. Lift. Your right hand is there. If you find that the sword is moving a little bit, the right forearm can kind of guide it. And that's our basic balance with body wave. So this is our basic way of balancing with Taksim or with body wave. Here's the thing. There's 2, 4, 17 ideas to think about with balancing. The first is to be long, lifted, and in proper posture. So, and again, I'm referencing Deanna because she's awesome, and she was there yesterday, and I took her class. And I know in the posture, she talked about neck, which I thought was really funny. But sometimes we have a tendency of protruding the head forward, and this can also happen when we're nervous about balancing. So we get to going, and we're like, oh, geez, I got to get balanced, and we kind of end up in this beautiful, lovely position. But then you're going to be stuck there. So rather than getting yourself scrunched, we want to make sure that we're preparing and aligning the body for the ultimate of success. So we really want to keep the chin level with the floor, length in the neck. So things to consider. The first is posture. The second, once you're balanced and we take that turn, turns will no longer feel the way that they did before. So if you're a fat chant style or American tribal style dancer, we typically look where we're going and the body unfurls underneath us. I'm also familiar with that from other styles. It is the opposite for me when you're balancing. I'm going to try to keep my head level, and I'm going to unfurl from the bottom up so that my sword moves less. That's what's super important. It's real weird to get used to. So it takes a minute because it's counterintuitive to what you want to do. The last thing that I'll mention is that your sword's going to move, and that's fine. So it's super important for you to get used to what is natural sway or movement in your sword and what is extreme. So you definitely want to be okay with some movement and not worry and not, freak out about it, but also know what is too much. And that's going to depend on you. Yeah. So let's try it again. Let's try that body wave. How are we doing? Do we have any questions? So far, so good. we'll just keep going. You let me know. So getting into our body wave, employing a turn, getting that sword to come down, adjusting, hovering the hands as needed. Once we get to the front, finding that beautiful split arm, maybe a little embellishment of floreo. Then if we're with a team, we want to make sure everybody made it. So I'm going to start my turn from the feet, working up the legs to my torso, and then to the head. Keep it going. Once I find my way to the front, I might use my right arm to stop a little bit, and then I made it. Then we could continue body wave. We also know our talk seam with our side-to-side hands. We also could execute our crescent hips. So we would flatten out to the front. If I was doing front crescents, the arm extends to the direction you're going. So if I slide right, I extend right arm. Slide left, extend left arm. Right? So again, this goes back to the concept that we talked about in the beginning with limited vocabulary, but it looking different. So how the movement looked when we held the sword versus how it looks now when we're balanced is different to the audience. So you as the dancer might be like, but I'm not doing things that are that complicated. But the audience is seeing, oh my goodness, they're dancing with a sword on their head. So before they were super excited with the suspense of you having a blade. Now you're balancing it. And again, now it's the awe of the performance with it. So I really think it's about presentation. I don't think that the movements have to be super complex. It's just about the strength and the power in which you're doing them. So we have our front crescents. Back crescents have horizontal arms. Right palm flexes, draws down and extends to the right. Draw down the center line of the body and to the left. So back and right. And again, these crescent steps are examples of my dialect steps. So these do not exist in Fat Chance Style or ATS. They are my own steps. So there are our basic movements that now we can include in our balance. Yeah. So I promised a second, more pizzazzy way to balance. So let's go over that. So I am a huge fan of Wild Card Belly Dance. They are some awesome dancers. If I remember right, they're based out of Nevada. Nope. I'm not going to say that because now I'm not sure, but I know they're from the West Coast. So I often see them when I head over there. So as a big fan, I feel I should know it better, but I'll look it up. It'll be fine. So they are well known for their amazing sword technique, and they have a combination that can get you balanced called the Big Sea Dragon. Now, I have tried to make a combo as awesome as theirs, and I just come circling right on back to their combo because it's amazing. And sometimes it's just really great to be inspired by other dancers. So this particular combination from start to finish gets you balanced, does it in an awesome way, and it's by Wild Card Belly Dance. So we start to the front, overhead. You are going to draw the sword. Sorry, just kidding. You're going to flip the sword and release the edge of the blade immediately down. So how this is different from back crescents is back crescents, we brought it shoulder height. For Big Sea Dragon, you're going to flatten out and immediately flip the blade down. I'm then going to sway right and left. So it's a little sway side to side. Sway right, sway left, then sway a little bigger to the right. So we'll call this like a medium sway. Then I'm going to execute a barrel turn starting with the blade down. So I'm going to draw down, side, up, side, down, and boom, I'm going to go to the left. Then I'm going to reverse. So you'll notice I have a little lean in the hip. I'm really employing that lean through the oblique. I am not pressing the hip joint out. Keep that nice and strong and utilize the oblique. Then I'm going to reverse down, and feel free to watch right now because I'm going to face the back. Down, I'm going to take it side, leading from the handle and go all the way up overhead. So I have some options here. So I will say that it depends on the formation. So again, I'm not quite sure whether most of you are improvisational dancers or soloists, but I'll just say that you have an option to face the corner, the back corner, if you're in a bigger group, or you could face flat to the back, so your choice. I am then going to execute Maya, or up to down figure 8. Right, left, right. Now, unlike, and I can't remember if I did this on my own or if it was part of the combination when they taught it. So I'm taking a little liberty here, but I choose to do 4. Sometimes we'll do more, but as a steady rule, I do 4. I do a right hip, left hip, right hip, left hip. And that's generally speaking how many that we do. So it's overhead, but during those 4 mayas, whoop, get balanced. Right, left. Again, I employ the hover, right, left. And at the end of those 4, I will neutral my pelvis, arms overhead, and here's the rub. I am going to lean, I'll turn to the side. I'm going to lean my sword into my forearms as I take a turn and a half to the front. 1 and a half. And then do a little arm sweep. Now you might be freaking out thinking there's no way I can do that. Yes, you can. Because the blade is pressed against the arms, it pretty much doesn't go anywhere, looks super impressive to the audience, and it was pretty cinchy for you. So let's go through the whole thing. So overhead, we flatten out, draw it down, little right, little lean left, little bit bigger lean right, all the way around, side up, side down, lean left, reverse to the back, Maya hip, right, balance, left, right, left, neutral hips, arms overhead, lean the sword in, and turn, turn, finish. And then you're balanced. Now, I would probably pick a turning step, either tuck, seam, or body wave, and still turn if I was in improvisation to make sure my dancers made it and they were okay, because that's the nice thing to do. So that is the big sea dragon. So for those of you that are used to carnival and carnival rides and things like that, it mimics a ride that's usually like a pirate ship. So it usually goes one way and the other way and a little bit bigger, and then sometimes it goes all the way around. So that's the inspiration for it. So some of you might be familiar with that and some of you not, and that's okay. So we've got 2 ways to balance. We have holding steps, we have forearm steps, and now we have our balance, right? So I'm thinking, oh, time, ooh. Okay, I think I totally want to give you, yeah, we need it because it's so pretty. Okay, so I'm going to give us 2 more steps, and then we'll do a nice big drill. Hopefully that sounds good. If there are any vetoes, you let me know. So let's talk about Sara turn. So I'm going to demo in case you're not used to the turn. So without a blade, Sara turn looks like this. It's a beautiful turn all on its own. And then I'm going to show you what it looks like with the sword, and then we'll break it down. Since it has multiple parts, I want you to kind of know where we're headed. So it'll start overhead. Oh, it's so good. It's so good and pretty, and it looks super, super nice and strong. It deals with a little bit different handle of our blade as well. So hopefully you're getting the sense of we started slow, but we're ramping up. So feel free to get excited because I'm getting excited. All right, so we start overhead. We're at performance angle. We've got nice, strong posture. So you've got some options here. What I find that I typically do when I'm setting this turn up is I automatically pivot my right hand. So what we're doing is we're bringing the blade, and actually again, turning to the side is helpful. So if this is my audience, I'm going to be bringing my blade down to my left hip as if I were putting it in its sheath, and I'm going to switch hands. So I'm going to be grabbing a hold with my left hand and letting my right hand go. That's what's going to happen. So you could keep the same hand placement and just bring it down and switch grips. Or you may find, like myself, is that I pivot my hand to make it a little bit more comfortable on my wrist. So either way is just fine, and you'll switch your grip. So let's do it from the front. So I come down, switch my grip. Then my right hand, as I do this turn, will rotate out, palm is up, overhead, and then we'll come back down to my blade. So as I'm executing this hand position, I will do a turn over my right shoulder. So I'm going to do a hook turn. So I will flip my right foot behind, place it on the ball. Once again, keeping nice, strong, neutral posture. Use my oblique to rotate and pivot around. Now, if you don't make it all the way around, that's fine. We're going to have some movement that'll get us to come back to performance angle. So just keep nice, strong posture. So let's try all of that again. So overhead, bring it to the hip. Switch grip to your left hand. Here we go. Serve up, overhead, and then back to the blade. So this is the exciting part. Now I'm going to grab a hold of the sword with my right hand, and I will unsheath the sword. I'll guide it with my left hand, but my left hand stays down. I take it all the way overhead. Then I will flourish, draw the right arm down, and it'll come just about horizontal, but I will contract my right oblique and open my left ribs. When I do that, as I contract, I will lift up the left arm in a nice kind of diagonal shape. Then I will step my left foot across, continue to bring the sword down, grab a hold of the blade, bring it back to the left hip, bring it across, overhead, and I usually finish with a body wave. Whew! Oh, that's a lot of information. Let's try. So bring it down, switch hands. Right foot behind, serve up, rotate and down, lift, rotate, cross left foot over, draw down, across up, and body wave. Again, down, around, grab, lift, rotate, and around. Body wave. So fancy. Sara turn is so stinking pretty. So I hope you're loving it. Let me know if you're having questions. Just pop them into the comments, and I know Lena's going to look for me. Our second, as promised, is our barrel turn number 2. So it is our one-handed barrel turn. This is the movement that has the most access to space. So definitely relook at your space and make sure that you've got a little room. So what's going to happen, again, I'm going to demo for you. So I'll do it first. So impressive. Super, super impressive. So what we're going to do is once again start overhead, and there's a little bit of a push to the blade, but what's super important to understand in this position is your dancer box. So our perfectly square dancer box. We have been pointing our toes, knees, and hips to the front left corner. What becomes very important is our front right corner. This position is so important for the safety of this movement. So your blade wants to love this corner because A, you can see it. It is in front of you, and your blade will be in sight the whole time, which is super, super important. So as we let go, I'm going to bring my blade roughly to that front corner. When I do that, I will execute that crossover that we know that is a part of barrel turn. I will then draw the edge down. Left arm stays up overhead, side, up. The blade then, this is the easier part, stays overhead. I will continue to let my left arm draw down, contract through that left oblique. I will turn to the front, sword is still overhead, left arm is down by my hip. I am then going to cross the front arm, and I get some liberties here. So I like to, as I draw the sword down, my left arm is coming up, and here is the most important part. I am going to release my sword all the way down, relax my wrist, flip the handle behind the hip so that the point is to that front corner. Then, as I can watch it, it will come up. What I find happens frequently with this movement is I watch everybody overdo it with their shoulder joints, and those are really sensitive joints. So as I go to, let's see, and I'll do it facing you. So as I'm coming around, what I see a lot of times is everybody kind of stops here, and then and everything kind of gets stuck and tight. So we want to relax down, rotate, and then follow the blade up. Again, 7, 8, and open. Corner, watch it go down, side up, blade stays up overhead horizontal, left arm down, rotate front, rotate and twist, draw down all the way down to the hip and up. Body wave. Again. Down, side, up, and side down, twist, and around. Okay, I think I lost. Lena's not here, and she's my only access to see your comments. So if there have been questions, I'm sure we'll get them in a second. It is time for a big Mama Jamma drill. So remember, we have had our entry-level steps, just like, hello, nice to see you. I have a sword. It's no big deal. We're warming them up. So those are our basic steps. Then we get a little fancier with our forearm holds. Then we get balanced. No, just kidding. Before our balance. So then we get real fancy with our holds, which is our barrel turn and our Sara turn. Then they thought that that was going to be all that we had to show them. Not true. Then we get balanced. Let's go ahead and try our wild card big sea dragon balance for our drill. And then we'll execute some movements balanced. All right. So, oh, there she is. Hi, honey. So we're going to do a little drill, and then I'll take any questions or feedback from everybody. Oh, just kidding. Where'd my mouse go? Okay, let's go ahead and do the song that we are. Oh, come on. That we already did. Here we go. It's a good length. All right, nice strong dance posture, everybody. How did you do?
Right. So there are comments. I can read out. There are no questions that I can see, but there are comments. Right. Right. So Prerna says, "It's a wow, beautiful experience learning with you. You're just awesome. Learning with you is an amazing experience from Saloni. The thing I've done in performances beforehand, balancing, is to sit backstage with the sword balanced on my head so that there's a little bit of a divot uh, already on my head so that the sword can sit into it without having to necessarily start from scratch. That's from Rosemary. And Megan says, yay, so happy to practice all moves and learn new ones as well. And Rashida says, "Oh, I could do it. I really enjoyed it." Gary says, "Hey, Lacey, I should be wearing the headband I got from you at the festival 2 years ago." And Lisa loves it. She says, "You're such a great instructor." Toshia, it's like, "Yay, Lacey." Chandni says she loved the class and she donated. So yeah.
Yes, I wanted to remind everybody, please, for us to remember why we are really all here, which is, of course, to have community and be together all across the world, but also to donate and to help migrant workers in India. I think that it is such a beautiful experience to be able to come together and to help others. So I'm excited to hear that you guys are loving it. Like I said, it's very strange to be in your space and hoping that you're reaching people, but these are all kind of considered kind of entry level steps to dance with your sword. And to just get you excited about it, I wanted to give you a couple more fancy steps so you could see how it could really grow. There was a thing that I wanted to tell you that now I can't remember. We were dancing, we were doing the thing. Oh, yes. So you might have noticed that once I balanced, my sword ended up moving a little bit. It happens. So it's similar, and it's going to sound a little funny, but I really like to think about my props as living, breathing dance partners. So it's not so much about an inanimate object, but it's about that it also has its own energy and its own movement. So what's important is that I stay.
Can you be a bit louder? Sorry to interrupt.
Can you hear me now? Hello, hello. Can we hear me?
I think you can. Yeah, you might have to.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Can we hear me now? Is that
Yeah,
better?
much
There we go.
better.
Okay. Fantastic. So what I was saying was, let's turn my speaker down though. That's crazy. Okay. So can we still hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so that your sword is, or any prop that you dance with, I like to think of the idea that it's living and breathing and that it has its own energy that we're dancing with. So it's going to move sometimes. So what's important is that you stay calm, you stay collected, you don't let it show on your face, and you just gently adjust. So the thing to work out is if you're dancing with other partners in improvisation, it's a little tricky when you're the lead. So that's a little bit more advanced. If you're a follower or if it's choreography, the idea is that you just keep doing your movement, gently adjust and move forward. So if you stay calm, the audience doesn't care, they don't even notice. But if you're like, oh my God, then everybody knows that there's a problem. I've seen one dancer really perform an amazing comedy routine, and that was her whole kind of idea, was that it was kind of crazy, and that's Ansa, and she was awesome. But other people, including myself, can't really get away with that. So if you stay calm and collected, you'll adjust and be able to move on. So don't worry or think that once you're balanced, you're not allowed to ever touch it again. If it needs adjustment, you just adjust and you stay calm. So that is my note on that. But I hope you really enjoy it. I hope that it encourages you to investigate new ways to manipulate your sword, new ways to dance, and ways to really get a lot more kind of juice out of your basic steps. So I don't always look for, oh, I need something new and new and new. I look at how the vocabulary that I already have, even if I'm a new dancer and my vocabulary is limited, it can really be lovely if you showcase it in different ways with the prop. Maybe you're holding it, maybe it's the forearm hold, then once you're balancing, and it can look different to the audience. So those are my notes there. I'd love to take a little forward bend with everyone to close class, and I know we have some closing remarks and things like that. Are we doing okay on time?
Yeah, you're doing okay on time. Yeah, you can take no problem.
Okay, perfect. So let's do a little stretch together. And I often run over, so I'm desperately trying to be on time today. I'm always like, oh, it's been 20 minutes over time. That's fine. No, it's not fine. Okay, let's do. There we go. Perfect. So this song is actually one that my husband made. So if I have any teachers out there, or even for the festival, my husband made a whole CD many moons ago, but it is available copyright free. Anyone can use it. So I'm happy to share that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, great.
Exhale down. Let's widen the stance just a little bit. Exhale, soften the knees, drop the head down. Just hang and release. Maybe shake the head lightly, yes and no. And then go ahead and come up halfway. So we're going to draw the tailbone back, hands are on the backs of the legs, lengthen the spine, exhale down. Once again, inhale up halfway. And exhale down. Drop that tailbone, sweep the arms to the side, come all the way up. And release. Let's go ahead and execute some wrist circles to relax the forearm a little bit. And floreo, rotate in. And then thumbs up to the side. Rotate the thumb back. And forward and down. Oh. And back. And down. Shake it out, shake it out. Inhale up. And exhale down. Thank you all for joining me. So let's have, there we go. Perfect. Thank you again, everyone, for showing up, whether it was late at night or early in the morning. Thank you, Lena, for having me be a part of this festival. It means so, so much to me. I'm so, so grateful.
Well, thank you so much, Lacey, for this workshop, for your time. I love it. You're so enthusiastic. You bring so much energy and passion. It's great. I watched Lacey perform at Kimi Lil's party, and I was like, immediately texted her, like, oh my God, you're amazing. Yeah, in fact, we will have a hafla night, and Lacey will be a part of it. So we'll talk more about that. And so thanks for everybody who joined in. I hope you enjoyed the workshop, and you can show it a little heart if you did, so that we know that it's something that you appreciated. And go back to the video for the next 48 hours. If you want to drill something, it's still there for you. And yeah, and of course, it would be great if you could give back in your way to the cause that we are fighting for, if we're supporting, which is for the Indian migrant workers. It's basically the people who built our cities in India. And even if you're not from India, it would be great to support these people who get no relief from the government, or the relief comes with a lot of difficulty, and because they need to fill up a lot of paperwork and a lot of on-ground reports on how the families are shattered and devastated, and they really need, like, they'll just survive on like a few dollars a day. So even some amount of money would go a long way to helping them. So if you think our festival is going in the right direction in terms of its intention, go share it with your friends. Feel free to come back for more workshops and complete the circle of love by showing your support. All right, so I hope to see you soon for next workshop by Sylvia and Frazzoli from Italy, who's going to do a class on flow with romance, which is about 1 hour from now, right? So yeah, and do ask any questions still, because we will be checking comments. Lacey also be checking comments. If you have forgotten to ask us something, you can still do that. All right, so I will see you soon, and thank you, Lacey, again, and big hug to everybody.